And welcome in. Happy, Wednesday now, the 15th of November, as the NBA's got itself a nice little card here, about 7-8 games on board. We're going to break down a few of these. The contrarian gods are going to swing by. We'll have some dogs that'll be barking. And all in all, we'll look to make it as profitable of an evening as possible here in the association because, well, the three guys that we've got are three of the best at WagerTalk.com, including Skee, Prophet in the house, the birthday man himself, Mr. Ralph Michaels. Happy 39th, my friend. You will we'll hear a little bit more about that coming up. While Mr. Rob Vino, not 39 years old, also joining us here today on the board. But plenty to get to here, guys, going on in the association. And, of course, Skee. We're going to kick it off with the contrarian gods who are, they're yelling here. And you were on their right side last week here on the show. I'm wondering if you agree them looking at a ridiculous line drop with the Milwaukee Bucks. It seems like no Giannis here tonight. That went from about 5 down to, 1 now, 1.5, taking on the Toronto Raptors. So, what are you thinking here? Are you in agreement that maybe, just maybe, this is too much of a line move right now in this spot?
No, I'm not. I'm going against the contrarian guys today.
Oh!
There's not a whole lot to like for this Bucks team. Like, you'd have to really explain to me, somebody, like, what is there to like? Because I already know Giannis. And Lillard, he's been pretty good, especially lately. He's been shooting very bad. Nobody plays perimeter defense for this Bucks team. It's their 5th game in 8 days. They've covered 1 game the entire season. It's no reason for me to take Milwaukee here in this matchup. It's Toronto's 5th game in 16 days. They've pretty much owned the Bucks because I feel like majority of these games they were underdogs. But they've won 7 of the last 10 versus them, covered 8 of those 10. And you're getting the better defense at home and the better rebounding team. I personally took them +5, but I'm not taking the Bucks minus anything. I don't care if it's minus a half a point. The Bucks don't deserve to be laying versus anybody. That's just how I feel. So Raptors for me.
All right, Raptors it is. Not in agreement with the contrarian gods here tonight, but maybe the birthday man could shed some light here on this big, 4-point move here, Ralph, and it looks like it keeps going down. How about you, though? Happy birthday, number 1, and number 2. Tell us here, man. Are you worried about the Bucks laying a point in this one?
Yeah, well, I agree with Skee. And the one game you did cover was against Detroit by 1.5, winning by 6.5. But Giannis is the reason the line moved. But let's also remember the Crowder loss is a huge loss. He's out for like 8 weeks. He got injured a couple games ago. So him being out as well leaves them very, very lack of depth in the front line. But the problem is I can't get to Toronto side. We don't know who's going to play. I mean, Trent is doubtful. And Ubodi is doubtful. Schrader's questionable. He just popped up on the injury list. So, if you're missing 3 of your smalls for who you want to play for Toronto, I can't get to that side either. I will say this. When a player goes out for 1 game, we talk about the injury risk system, and I know Marco mentions it on Bet on It, and I'm a proponent of that players can rally around a short-term injury to a key player, and usually when that injury happens, I do like playing on the team. I'm not going to get there this time though because of the Crowder injury piling it on and the question marks on the Toronto. But to me, it's either play against Milwaukee with their 1-8-1 ATS record or pass in the game until we see a better Bucks team.
All right, not buying it with the Bucks laying anything here. Rob Vino, hoping you could shed some light here. The last time I checked, I believe Toronto now just 5 of 348 from 3, it feels like, in their last couple of games. So they haven't exactly been shooting lights out here. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, they still have Lillard, right? Does that count for anything?
Well, it should. But it's hard to argue with anything that was said ahead of me here. It's hard to argue a Milwaukee side in this game, other than, Joe, the fact that last 19 times they've played without Giannis, they're 11-8. You're only asking them to win the game, right? So 11-8. You have to substitute, though. Here's where things get a little bit tricky, right? You're substituting Drew Holiday in those lineups for the most part for Damian Lillard now. So Lillard, if he gets on track, scores you more, gives up more. I think, the line move is what it is. The total move seems to indicate a little bit more to me that odds makers still believe there's going to be plenty of scoring in this game. Ralph's injury report, with OG Anunoby maybe not playing here. Gary Trent hasn't played in a couple of games. Dennis Schroeder, it would look like, just by what we're staring at for a line right now, that he's going to go in this game. So I'd expect him. Skee mentioned the rebounding. The overall rebounding favors Toronto slightly for sure. Toronto's a nice fast break team, even though they play at slow pace. Milwaukee plays at pace. So all these things probably add up to Toronto winning here. The one caution I would have is that they played this same type of team the other night, right? They played Washington. They give up 107 points, Toronto does, with like 7:25 left in the game, and then only give up 2. I don't know if that's an indicator that they woke up or if that's an indicator that Milwaukee's going to get to, 120 here. But either way, it's hard to be on the contrarian God's side. I know that always sticks me right where it hurts most, but I'm going to say play Toronto. Play Toronto here. Don't play the Bucks, because I just can't make enough of a case, except for the fact that they're 11-8 without Giannis last 19 games.
Right, which is, what have you done for me lately here? Intriguing game, and we usually see these big drops in lines with the star players out. We'll see if it affects the market and the game like the line says it will here. So, contrarian gods be damned, Toronto looks like all three guys leaning that way over the Milwaukee Bucks. We do have a pretty good featured matchup here tonight with the New York Knicks taking on the Atlanta Hawks, or maybe it's not a great matchup here for one of these teams. So, Skee, what are you approaching here with the Knicks taking on the Hawks here tonight on the road?
Yeah, this is honestly not my favorite game of the day, but I know these teams don't like each other. Last time they played, New York did get the W, and Atlanta did play yesterday, but Trae Young didn't play. I think he had a baby, he had a baby yesterday, so he will be back in there today. I really like to play on Atlanta at home. That's what keeps me off New York, because New York has been the better defense and the better rebounding team. I think if I want anybody from New York, I'll go Mitchell Robinson on his rebounds. Last time they played, he was doing work on the boards. I think he had like 13 or 12. So I could see him getting back to that. And other than that, maybe I play on Brunson, just because I don't see anybody stopping him in this game as far as his points. But I don't really want to be involved on the side. And the total, you have two teams that play kind of opposite ways. Atlanta likes to be up tempo. New York is a little bit slower. And one team is more of a defensive team and the other more of an offensive team. So I'm stuck in this one. I feel like there are better positions across the card. I'd probably go with the props I mentioned earlier.
So it's always been a situation, Ralph, where, hey, the Hawks at home, bet on. Hawks on the road, don't even go anywhere near them. In this particular spot, do we trust the Knicks to go on the road coming off of that loss against Boston on Monday night?
Well, I like what they said, but let me go back and correct Skee for 1 minute. He did not have a baby. His wife or girlfriend had the baby, just so you guys know.
Oh, it's a good point. Solid point. Solid point. Yep.
And it was a daughter, by the way. I'll tell you what, I was impressed that Atlanta, without Trae, can go on the road and still shoot 52%, beating Detroit 126-120. But there's one number that jumped out to me. I like what New York said after that loss to Boston. Listen, they got beat today. We got outplayed. We got a little lazy. We need to run a little more, run a little faster. it was basically their worst game of the year. They shot 41.8%. They allowed over 50% for the first time this year. And in fact, that defense has not allowed over 49% up until that game against Boston. But the Knicks so far off a loss this year, a perfect 4-0 ATS coming off a straight up loss. The second game of a road trip gets them back in a little bit of sync. But the number that jumps out to me, this discrepancy is one of the biggest I've seen. In the last 3 games, New York has had 20 turnovers on offense. That's it. 3, 9, and 8. Atlanta has turned the ball over 17, 21, and 14, 42 times to 20. So when I have the better defense that's completely taking care of the ball against the team that causes turnovers, even with Young back in the lineup, I lean the Knicks today.
Leaning the Knicks. Those are good numbers there, Rob. Vino, does it make you lean towards the total in this matchup here tonight? Or do you think maybe the Knicks defense keeps this thing under where we're looking here?
Yeah, first off, since Ralph started with a retort to what Skee had said, I'll do the same. But when Skee talked about Trae Young or Atlanta not liking New York, it jogged my memory. It dates back to that playoff series, right, where Young played the villain the entire way against the Knicks, and it hasn't gone away since. So there is a little something there between these two teams. But the one thing I can't get over here, guys, is the defensive discrepancy between these two teams. I mean, Ralph just said the Knicks allowed 50% for the first time all season long. Atlanta's played 9 games. 8 of the 9 games, they've allowed 47% from the field or better. That's horrendous defense. And even though the Knicks don't always shoot straight, the acquisition of DeJounte Murray was supposed to help this perimeter defense, and the Hawks just don't play defense whatsoever at this point in time. So I think the Knicks probably get some assistance offensively from the poor defense, certainly more than Atlanta will get from the Knicks emphasizing defense here, based off of the quotes that Ralph gave and the fact that they've played good defense all season long. Knicks 4-1 against the spread last 5. They're the hotter team. Hawks 1-3 against the spread last 4. Knicks on the road 3-2 ATS. Hawks at home 1-3 at home ATS. So a lot of indicators here for the Knicks, Joe. And I do like the Knicks bounce back theory, somewhat of a step down in class here. You play Boston, you come back, you play the Hawks. The Hawks don't play offense as well as Boston. The Hawks don't play defense as well as Boston. They really don't do anything as well as Boston. So I think New York on the road here, immune to the venue. Hawks home used to be a thing. Don't know if it still is or not. We're going to find out. But like I say, they're off to a 1-3 ATS home start. I'll try the Knicks here in this one.
All right, looking at the Knicks here. There you got it, guys. We still got a total we're going to focus on here, along with a couple of dogs and some best bets coming your way. And if you happen to be new to us here at WagerTalk TV, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Nobody's got more NBA content, head-to-head matchup data, along with previews and best bets of all the games throughout the week than we do here at WagerTalk TV. So smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let us head to our overtime game. And I'll give you guys 3 guesses as to where the hell we're going in this game here tonight. And, oh, look at that. Washington's involved with it. How about this line here? For some reason, we're inching closer to that pregame number of 250. It hasn't happened, and I know Ralph's got the database. I know Ralph is going to be able to look this up for us and say how often 250 has been a closing number total, but I would say we're pretty close to it here over the next month in the NBA. So, Skee, 245 right now is that number. Is it too high at this point, man? Are we going, Dallas is going to contribute enough to get this done as well?
I would think they can. I'm not into backing Washington unders. That's for one. And with this matchup, you got number 1, number 2 in pace. You got both teams bottom 5 defensive rated teams on the season. I mean, yesterday the Mavs players didn't even really play that much, and Luka had a bad game. He doesn't usually have a bad game twice, so I would expect him to shoot extremely well in this game. I would expect a in a tempo game, and only way to play it is over. I know it's high, but it's up there for a reason, and a one-way ticket for me.
Yeah, it feels like the last thing I'd want to do here tonight, Ralph, is try to hope a Washington game goes to the under. But what did you find in the database? We're not even a month into the season, and we're already mid 240s.
Yeah, I am looking, Joe. Over 246. There's only been 8 games over 246, and the highest in my database, this goes back to 2006, was 250 points between the Hawks and the Pacers. That was March 25th of last year. So, and also the Pacers and the Wizards were 250 May the 8th of 2021. So if we hit it, it'll be uncharted territory. You know, you look at the numbers and why is this total where it is? Well, let's see. The Wizards are 7-3 over under on the year, 6-2 over under the last 7 games. Their games average 237.8 points per game with an average total of 233. The Mavericks 9-2 over under this season. Average score, 241.6 points per game. They're 9-2 to the over, going over by 11.05 points per game. And when you're looking at over-unders, it's important to note how much a team goes over by. Is it the last basket making or missing? With these two teams, it's not. But one negative, I will say this. Prior to this game, the Mavericks' highest line this year was 237 and 239.5. So this is 5 points higher than the highest line they've had, and this is 7.5 points higher than the second highest total they had. When I look at the Wizards database, they had a total of 240.5 twice. Both of those games did go over, so it's 4 points higher. And I went to a system. Does the system make sense? I think so. I'll let you guys decide. Since 2020, if one of the teams is off a loss as an away favorite of 2 points or higher, and now they're on the road as a favorite or a small favorite to -4.5 or a dog. So we have one team that was an away favorite of 2 or more off a loss, like we have in this game, and now they're on the road again as a dog or a small favorite. This has actually gone 66 and 114 over under. So it says when that favorite loses, they do bounce back and tend to play defense. So just FYI, that is 62.3% to the under with 200 games of sample size since 2020. The issue here, though, the road team is a team that is offensive minded, as I said. I'm not gonna say play the under, but I do have my hesitations with the over, with this line climbing so much more than they have relative to the recent data at what these games were. So slight lean over, not getting to the window with it.
Yeah, that's a great stack too here, and coming off a demolishing last night there, Dallas was crushed here. But Vino, we talk about it all the time. This is a very, very difficult spot to be in here to want to look at an under, but at the same time, we've got to get a lot of things going our way in order for 245 or more to take center stage. What are you thinking in this matchup?
Well, a couple of things before we get into it. Let's get Ralph to the database with a new query starting this year and going forward. And what these teams do after in a back-to-back situation off an in-season tournament game. These games are supposed to mean so much more to these guys. Now, Dallas, it might not apply because they hardly played last night, right? They got blown out. And so you see a lot of 21, 23 in the minutes column for these guys. They should be fresh here. And, you know, while I'm at it, let's just go off on Adam Silver a little bit when you look at these injury reports. I mean, my goodness, Kyrie was added to this one. This is the only league, Joe, I swear to God, it's the only league where you can make a rule and inside the rule have a provision to break the rule. Giannis, day off in between Monday and Wednesday. All of a sudden, injury management for Giannis. He played 34 minutes Monday. And Kyrie, same thing. He's come up with an injury now. So who knows if he's going to play. I'll say this. Instead of looking at game total, which both of these guys did, I'll try and do something different and look at team total. I think Washington over 119.5 stands a chance here. Like we said, they had 107 against a much better defensive team in Toronto the other night, 107 with 7:25 left in the game. Even though they went dry and only scored 2 points, last 7:25 of that, when they still shot 51% from the field. Dallas allows that like crazy. Skee alluded to the fact that, Dallas 29th in field goal percentage against so far this season, and both of these two are the fastest teams in the NBA this year. I think Washington actually rates as the fastest tempo team at this point in time. So we're going to get a lot of opportunity. We're going to get a lot of shots. We're going to get a lot of guys who just want to score points. And if Luka does bounce back tonight, it could be a 45-point job out of him. The Wizards' last 2 games, 107 and 94 points. They've been, low-scoring games for the Wizards, the last 2. But Brooklyn and Toronto both rate inside the top 9 in field goal percentage allowed. I think the Nets are 5th, surprisingly, this year. Toronto 9th. So definitely step down in class for Washington, who's had a night off. They can come into Dallas and score here. Dallas just looks to outscore teams. So I would say this game probably can get to the 245 mark. You do have to worry a little bit about Kyrie. I'd rather take my chances with Washington getting to 120 here because 30 a quarter versus Dallas just doesn't seem like that much nowadays.
Yeah, no, it's a different NBA, that is for sure. 245 is that total. Be interesting to see how that goes, certainly in the first half as well. But we got plenty of opportunities for the dogs to be barking tonight. So, Robbie, let's see what we got to choose from.
in a few preseason games. But it still takes time for those players who have not played this far into the season to mesh and meld. Phoenix also, Eric Gordon's day-to-day, we'll see what happens. But this is a team with Phoenix that let's take a look at a week or 2 weeks if they start making their run that I think you could finally get some value. Phoenix is just not playing good ball. The offense has shot 42, 45, and 39%. It's not going to turn around against Minnesota. And while, we're looking at a spot where Phoenix is rested and Minnesota played last night, I did go to the database, and just to share this data, it's nothing you're going to bet, but it's not the negative number you think. If one team has at least 2 days rest, like Phoenix does, against an opponent with no rest, if the rested home team is exactly 50%, 90 ATS wins, 90 ATS losses. So it's not the advantage that you would think it would be. It's worked into the price point. And if a team is a home favorite with more than 2 days rest against an opponent with no rest, that number actually drops to 47.3%. So I'm going to say if you walk into a bar and ask 8 NBA fans, what do you think the percentage is for a home favorite, a rested home favorite against a team with no rest? I'm going to think you're going to get 55% plus in almost every guess, but the data shows us clearly not. That's all the way back to 2019. And again, that home favorite ATS number, 47.3%. Outright upset by the T-Wolves tonight.
All right. Wow, calling it right now. The dog is a barking, and its name is T-Wolf there. What are you thinking, Vino? Well, yeah, I mean, he left you the pick'em prices. Which one of these games might you be looking at here tonight?
Yeah, gotta thoroughly thank Ralph for his consideration there and leaving me the Orlando Magic +1, right? Why not hop in with Orlando tonight? Yeah, without DeMar DeRozan, it's hard to get behind the Bulls offensively. And when I look at this game, if we're just looking at fundamentals on the floor, you have to like the front line advantage that Orlando now possesses. I mean, they're probably a better sized team. They're probably a better rebounding team anyway, but without DeRozan scoring, the front line advantage just looks big for Orlando. And when you go through the starting guards and then the two backup guards, they match up pretty well there as well. So to me, Orlando, they come off a 20-point loss on Monday where they didn't play particularly well. And it's a team that usually gives you a full 48 minutes of basketball. It gets a team that talent-wise, they're pretty much level with. I mean, Zach LaVine has the opportunity to go off here. I'm sure he's going to get his shots now that DeRozan isn't in there. And that it can be good. It could be bad, Joe. This could wind up being a 94-point outing by the Bulls if LaVine isn't on. But I like the Magic's size advantage. I like their reserves in this case. So I'm going to base it all on fundamentals in the absence of DeMar DeRozan and take Orlando. They haven't been great on the road so far, point spread wise. Small sample size, of course. 1-2-1 against the spread is not exceptional by any means. But I look at the Bulls, and they've shot 46% or less from the field with DeMar DeRozan in 7 of their 11 games. Just not a good offensive team, and you take him out of the equation, it makes them even worse. So I'm going to try Orlando +1 on the road over Chicago.
All right, there you go. We got some dogs that are barking. Orlando, as long as they can, I don't know, show up for a fourth quarter, they got a good shot here. We do have, of course, time for some best bets here. We'll throw 60 seconds on the clock and give these guys the opportunity to do whatever the hell they want with it as long as we get ourselves a best bet here. So talk to us there, Skee Prophet. 60 seconds on the board. Okay, let's go on to Ralph Mike. We should start with the birthday boy anyway. So let's start with the birthday boy. Ralph Michael, 60 seconds on the clock. Where are you rolling here tonight for a best bet?
Well, guys, I want to celebrate my birthday this weekend with you. Jump on board. If you go to my homepage, there's a $60 special. $60 for 7 days of all sports. I do have a 5% I'm loading Thursday morning in college football. That play by itself, $35. Why not take advantage? You get 7 days, all access, $60. I appreciate it. I'm going to go with Boston. Now, I released this as a 2% play to my customers yesterday, but all of a sudden Jaylen Brown popped up on the injury report. So, that weakens this play somewhat. But while we talked about the home favorites being rested, if an away favorite of 3.5 or more is rested, like Boston is, and they have at least 1 day to their next game, those away favorites are actually 60+%. That's a league-wide system, not just basically to the Celtics. Celtics, again, looking for revenge. They played November 8th, again, here at this venue. But I like the way the Celtics D has played. The last two opponents, they've held to 38.5% and 41.8%. Sixers have allowed 52% plus the last two games. How about this for a stat I did not believe? Last year, when I looked at the Celtics playing with revenge for a loss as a favorite, they went 1-15 ATS their first 16 games of the year. An amazing number. I had to double check. They actually ended up finishing 6-3 the last 9, but to be 1-15 in revenge spots, I apologize I went over, but it was my birthday week, so don't scold me, Joe.
I love it. No, that's all great stuff there, Ralph. And listen, did you really think he was going to put the buzzer on you anyway? I mean, stop it. All right, Skee, we got you back, man. Pleasure to see you. It's been a while. So we get 60 seconds on the clock. Break it down for us here tonight. Where are you going for a best bet?
Well, happy birthday to Ralph, and I'll use my best bet to back him up. I like the Celtics as well. I agree with what he said about Jaylen Brown. It's not what I like to see for him to be game time. He didn't participate in shoot around with his illness. But Porzingis, I think he'll still play. I mean, he bumped knees with Julius Randle, and he still was in the game after that. He got another block. He was still hyped. I think Porzingis will still be out there today. And with Philly on a back-to-back, I'm worried about those guys playing. I don't think Embiid is going to go. I mean, guys, they played like a harder game than I thought they would with the Celtics on deck. So Celtics are the better defensive team so far. They're the better team in general to me. So whether Porzingis plays or not, I still think Al Horford will be okay. And if Embiid is in, he's been a guy who's defended him well. I'll end with this. Road favorites off of a loss as a favorite to the same team within a week, and the line is higher. They are 6-1. So straight up and against the spread. That says play the Celtics.
All right, lay it with the Celtics and get her done here tonight against the shorthanded Sixers. It seems to be a group effort here, Rob Vino. Now, if I throw 60 seconds on the clock and you give us out the Celtics, we're going to have an issue, Vino. But you know better than that, because then I'd have to run and go bet the 76ers if all three of us agree on that. So where are you going for a best bet here tonight, Rob Vino?
Yeah, let me be the contrarian god for one day, Joe. I'll play the Milwaukee-Toronto game over the total, 224.5. Obviously, Milwaukee, that we've talked about it, lousy defense. Toronto's been consistent in scoring high point totals against these bad defenses. They played once already, 130-111, 241 points scored. Raptors shot 56% from the field. Milwaukee had 38 trips to the free throw line, not because of Giannis. He only had 9 of those. The Bucks play at a really fast pace. They gave up 100 shot attempts to the Bulls the other night. The Bulls only shot 38% on 100 attempts, still got to 109 points because they had so many opportunities. I think we'll get them here. And Damian Lillard's shooting picks up. He's only 3 for 17 the other night. Chicago plays at this snail-like pace, but again, they've shot poorly the last couple of games. They probably pick it up here. I think Lillard picks it up as well. I'm going to be contrarian here and take Toronto and Milwaukee over 224.5. Happy birthday to Ralph. Don't buzz me.
No, I ain't buzzing you. We don't buzz on birthdays here. No, don't make a difference there. But we do have some best bets across the board here for you guys, and you've got them here as we got some agreement, we got some backing, and we got some flipping off the contrarian gods. A little something for everyone. Don't forget, visit Skee Profit tonight on his page at WagerTalk. Take advantage of Ralph's birthday, the ability to take $60 off right now at his page. And, of course, Rob Vino, locked and loaded tonight, guys. And don't forget to hit that subscribe and that thumbs up. Those of you joining us live here on the show, those of you joining us on the replay, go ahead, hit that video on your screen right now. As we told you, nobody's got more NBA, college basketball, NHL, NFL, college football content than we do here at WagerTalk TV. Get access to all of this week's big matchups just by clicking that video on your screen now. And we will see you again tomorrow for another edition of the NBA Tip-Off Show. Good luck with your plays. We'll see you soon.